Hi and welcome to another Textile Art Techniques video, this time on Cutaway Applique. Here's a clip from the video where I first shared this technique. It had an amazing response. If you haven't already seen it, you can watch it here. I thought it would be interesting to show how this technique looks in different shapes. This time I'm keeping it really simple with just two pieces of fabric in contrasting colours. I placed the white fabric on top of the dark. I'm going to hand stitch a series of concentric circles. So I've taken a template, or masking tape if you like, and I'm going to draw around this with a fabric removable pen. I'm using a Frixion pen which is removable by heat from an iron or a hairdryer. If you use the same, make sure you test it on a scrap piece of fabric first. Once you've drawn your shape, secure your fabric together either using pins or loosely tacking with stitch. Take your thread. I'm using pearl cotton number 8 in a dark colour that matches the back fabric. Thread your needle and tie a knot at the end. Bring your needle up from the back level with the line that you've just drawn. We're going to be doing a running stitch. I'm using a sashiko needle which makes it easier for me to gather the stitches along the needle. Sashiko needles are typically stronger and slightly longer than standard sewing needles. Take your time when sewing, gathering as many stitches on your needle that feels comfortable. Each time you pull the thread through, make sure you pull the fabric afterwards and rearrange it in case it starts to gather. You don't want the tension to be too tight, or else the shape will distort and the fabric won't sit flat. As you get back to the beginning, adjust your stitches so that they all fit evenly within the space that's left. Now it's time for you to knot the back securely. I like to do a quilter's knot by wrapping the thread around the needle, pressing the knot to the surface and then pulling the thread taut. This can take a bit of practice. If you prefer, you can always knot it to the stitch next to where you finish. Now it's time to add your concentric circles. I've decided not to use a template this time, instead drawing freehand using the stitched circle as my guide. I'm leaving approximately 1 centimetre between the circles. As you did before, knot your thread and bring it up from the back. It will look a lot neater from the back if you stack up your knots by starting in the same position as you did on the last circle, but this isn't essential. Sew around your circle and finish in the same way. Keep working in this order, drawing your line, sewing along it until your circle is full. When you've added all the sewing, it will look something like this. Next is the really fun part, cutting in between each layer of stitching. You'll need a pair of scissors with small pointy blades. Embroidery scissors are perfect. We'll start on the largest circle, being really careful not to cut through to the back fabric. In the middle of your lines of stitching, cut carefully, a few snips at a time, and turning the fabric around as you work. Each time, make sure your blade isn't catching the backing fabric. The backing fabric needs to remain in one whole piece. It's just the white fabric or the top fabric that we're cutting. Try to keep your cutting line evenly in between your rows of stitches, but don't worry if it wanders off slightly. If you cut too close to your stitches, you run the risk of it unravelling completely. Do this for each layer of your circle. The smaller it gets, the more difficult it is, so take your time. You can begin to see here how well this technique works with a contrasting fabric. This is where it gets really fun, manipulating the frayed fabric, ruffling it up slightly to cause it to fray further, and revealing the background fabric. You can start to get a picture of how this can look when it's finished. If you have a small part left in the centre as I do, you can either choose to leave it as it is or go back in and cut it like I'm doing here. Keep touching and playing with the fabric, manipulating it and fraying it further. Because this is cut in a circular arrangement, it might take a little bit of persuasion to get the folds to fold back on themselves. Fraying it will help with this. Here is the finished sample, which I'm so happy with, and I can see so much potential for using this in different projects. Imagine using this as a repeated motif, maybe on a bag or on some clothing. It's very textured, very satisfying to play with, and just really interesting to look at. I'm especially happy that I chose such contrasting colours. It looks almost like a lino print to me, and I can imagine so many different designs with this, perhaps exploring some kind of naive folk art pattern. Join me in part 2 of this video to see where I take the technique next.